Welcome, welcome. Stop what you're doing, guys. I need to tell you something, and I'm actually very excited about this one. I did my nails for this. Which I always do, but especially for this one. Because today we are talking about one of the most beloved stories in American history and how it started right here in our city, guys. And nobody put it on a plaque. Not one street named after him, not one marker on a building, and not one thing. Just nothing. Well, that's what the curveball is for. Let's go. How many of you have watched Old Yeller as a kid? And how many of you cried at the end? How many of you are still not over it? No judgment. None. I see you. Now, how many of you knew the man who wrote the story? The man who made the entire generation of children cry into their popcorn. He got fired from a newspaper right here in Corpus Christi. And he went on to write one of the most translated, most loved, and most read books in American history. Yep, I thought so. Pull up a chair, babe, because this one, it's good. All right, y'all. His name was Frederick Benjamin Gibson, born February 7th of 1908. And before I tell you the Corpus Christi part, I need you to understand where this man came from, because it matters. Fred Gibson, born on a farm near Mason, Texas Hill Country. Yeah, and the parents were cotton farmers. He was one of 7 children. And every single day, he walked 4 miles to school, barefoot. Now, I know, everyone's grandpa and grandma walked uphill both ways in the snow. But in Fred's case, this is actually documented. 4 miles barefoot both ways every single day. The man started from nothing. But what he did have, he had a daddy who could tell a story. So his father had almost no formal education, but according to everyone who ever knew Fred, his father was the best natural storyteller that he had ever heard in his life. And Fred Gibson, he never forgot that. He grew up hunting and fishing and listening to stories told on the front porch under the Texas stars, guys. And somewhere in all of that, the barefoot kid from Mason, he decided he was going to do the same thing, tell stories. He just needed to find his way to a typewriter first. Getting to that typewriter was not easy. After high school, Fred worked as a cowboy, a goat driver, a day laborer, and a mule skinner. Now, if you don't know what a mule skinner is, it is exactly what it sounds like. Hard, dirty, and physical work. This was during the Great Depression. Making a living at anything was hard. But Fred had a dream, guys. So in 1933, at 25 years old, he enrolled at the University of Texas at Austin, and he studied journalism. He wrote for the student newspaper. He was good. He was really, really good. But he ran out of money before he could finish his degree. Yeah, and so 1937, no diploma, no safety net, nothing but a hill country draw and a gift for putting words together. Fred Gibson walked into the newsroom of the Corpus Christi Caller-Times, and they gave him a job, guys, right here in our city. He spent the next few years traveling all across Texas, reporting stories, meeting people, and listening to the way real Texans talked. And he had a gift for dialect, for the way regular people expressed extraordinary things. And Corpus Christi gave him the time and the space to develop it. Now, here's where it gets a little spicy. While he was here, he met a girl, a San Angelo girl named Tommy Wen. And they got married. She got pregnant, and Fred Gibson, he got fired. So the man who would go on to write one of the greatest American children's novel of the 20th century got fired from our newspaper with a pregnant wife, guys. Now, most people in that situation would have panicked. Fred Gibson, he looked at his wife and he looked at the situation and he said, you know what? I'm just going to be a writer. They packed up and moved back to his family's ranch in Mason. And Fred, he sat down at his typewriter and he got his butt to work. Now, here's where the story gets good. Really good. Fred started selling short stories to the Western magazines. And then his first book came out in 1946. Then his second book, Hound Dog Man. It came out in 1949. Yeah, and it sold over 250,000 copies in its first year. 250,000 copies, year one. New York Times bestseller. Book of the Month, club section. Yeah, and the barefoot kid from Mason, Texas, who got fired from the Corpus Christi Caller-Times was now one of the most read authors in America. But his work was still coming. In 1955, Fred had an idea for a book about a boy and his dog, based on a story his grandfather had told him. He thought children's books were too sweet, too safe, and too far from how life actually felt. And he wanted to write something that showed children what life was really like. Not what people thought it should be, guys. His publisher said yes. And Fred sat down and he wrote Old Yeller in 3 months. 3 months. Originally called Big Yeller Dog, but the book came out in 1956. Walt Disney bought the movie rights before the book even hit the shelves. On paper, profits topped $100,000 before a single child had read a single page. Fred Gibson was 48 years old, the kid who got fired from the Corpus Christi Caller-Times with a pregnant wife and no backup plan. He had just written one of the most beloved children's books in American history. Old Yeller received the Newbery Honor in 1957, guys. Nearly 3 million copies sold by 1973, translated into Danish, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Norwegian, Spanish, Swedish, and Turkish. All from a story his father had told him, guys, and all from a man who had learned to listen in the Texas Hill Country and who sharpened every single one of those skills right here in Corpus Christi at the newspaper that fired him. All right, guys, real quick, because I love this detail and I think that you will too. When Disney made the movie, the studio executives wanted to change the ending. They thought it was too harsh for children. They thought it was too real, too sad, too much. And Walt Disney stepped in and he said, no, the movie ends like the book. That's it. I always liked Walt Disney a little more after I found that out. Some stories need to hurt a little, guys. That's what makes them stay with you forever. Okay, well, I have to shift gears here for a second, guys, because Fred Gibson's story doesn't end with a sold-out bookstore and Disney movies. And I think you deserve to know all of it, because that's what we do here. At the height of his career, right when everything should have been perfect, Fred, he started to fall apart. Intense back pain, an ulcer, depression. He went to Hollywood to work on Old Yeller on the screenplay, and he hated every single minute of it. He was homesick. He was unhappy. He was a Texas Hill Country man sitting in California trying to write about Texas Hill Country stuff. And it felt completely wrong. He eventually came back home to Texas, guys. And then in 1962, everything collapsed. So his dog, the real life model for Savage Sam, Old Yeller's sequel, he was found chained and clubbed to death in a shed behind their home. Let that sink in, guys. And then his son, Mike, he found the dog. Went back to the university the next day in complete shock. And that weekend, he took his own life, guys. Fred Gibson lost his dog and his firstborn son in the same week. 2 years later, his marriage fell apart. The man who wrote one of the most beloved stories about loyalty, love, and loss in American literature, he lost everything he loved within a few years. And he kept writing, guys. He kept going. He died at his ranch near Mason, Texas on August 14th of 1973. And by special proclamation of the governor of Texas, he was buried in the Texas State Cemetery in Austin, reserved for governors, veterans, and heroes. So the next time somebody brings up Old Yeller and somebody starts crying, and they will, you look at them, guys, and you say, you know the story started right here in Corpus Christi. Yeah, at a newspaper that fired the man who wrote it. We didn't name a street after him. We didn't put up a plaque. We barely even talk about him, guys. But Fred Gibson, he was ours. And he sat at a desk in this city and he walked our streets and he listened to Texas with everything that he had. And what he heard became one of the most loved stories in the history of this country. And now you guys know. I'm Ashley with the Curveball, guys, and I will see you in the shadow.